morning, everyone, and welcome to today's live stream. Today, we're back with some more Space Engineers, and this week, we are finally making a return to my New Beginnings series. For those of you that have been following along with this series for a little while, you probably know that I ended up taking a break from it because I lost a lot of inspiration and motivational drive to continue working on this series, which, while unfortunate, did give me a chance to start working on a couple of my other projects. We had my hydrogen processing plant, the bulk cargo shipping yard, as well as the industrial overhaul and nuclear power plant, which, while all of the above still need a bit more work in their respective testing worlds, I made some good progress, and it helped take my attention off of where the hell am I going here for long enough to give me a bit more motivation again. So today we're going to start the planning stages and get a bit of preparational work done to get ourselves up into space. Now, for the survival impossible scenario that I'm playing from, that is one of the eventual goals, is to get off of Omicron and visit the other planets in this star system. Now, obviously, to get off the planet is going to present its own challenges. Excuse me. And I figured, why not go, similar direction as I was in one of my previous playthroughs with this. And that is by building my processor. Now, this is a ship that I've put together based on the processor from Homeworld Cataclysm. It's one of the Kith Samta ships. And I wish there was a way to change the opacity on these projections because... Oh, would you look at that? See, this is what I get for leaving my HUD off for so long. And while we're down here, may as well. Anyways, now that we're done with that rude interruption, those few points of health back. Anyhow. Coming back to this. Now, this particular version that I blueprinted is from a industrial overhaul world, so there's some internals that will need to be swapped out, but overall, this design as it currently stands will be very much usable for my needs. And some of you that, again, have been watching me for a while may remember in a previous attempt at this Survival Impossible playthrough, you may recall that that's actually where I started, building this, whatnot. So I think it's only fair and only right that I finally actually follow through and complete this build and get myself to space with it. And since I've got the blueprint for pretty much the entire external hull, I think we can make this work. A bit more easily than trying to the initial attempt at, you know, building it in survival from scratch. Now, before we start building this, obviously there are some logistical concerns that need to be taken care of. First and foremost, getting this into space. This blueprint uses, purely ion thrust, which is good once we get into space. But on the way up, doesn't really help us all that much. Now, my original plan was to use hydrogen to get up to space and for moving around in space. So, I believe we will revert back to that, which will take a good bit of redesign on this. But I'm fairly certain I can make it work. With the ion thrust, that's, those take up 2 blocks, and all these small hydrogen thrusters will only take up 1. So I can use that rear block for some conveyor junctions and stuff like that. So, again, overall it's going to take some work, but, it should be doable for that sort of, retrofit overhaul. However, this being powered by hydrogen, we are going to need a lot of fuel, because this isn't going to be easy to get off the ground. I probably will put on some sacrificial atmospherics, just to get it up into space and whatnot. That way we're not burning too much hydrogen on the way up. Because, I've got more than enough surface area for those. But first things first, like I said, we need hydrogen. Which means, we could, farm a bunch of the snow that we've got lying around, because, we've got plenty of it. However, we've got a ice lake just right over this mountain here. So just as how we've got ourselves a dedicated iron mine, I believe I've also got something for nickel around here. Silicon there. And nickel over there. So we've got plenty of all the resources that we're going to need a inordinate amount of. So today's work is going to be getting ourselves in a position to build a hydrogen farm over on that ice lake, and then begin production for, getting our processor built up. Now, I am assuming that this is going to take a good amount of time to build. So, this is definitely going to be maybe not a long-term project, but it's not going to be something that I get finished in, 2 or 3 streams. So, while we're sitting here, I'm one of those people that I really like having, listed objectives. That's exactly... That's a window. Which do I want to use? I do need to double check is I think first thing I'm going to need to do today is make a run to our iron mine. Before we get too carried away on anything else, because we do need some more iron. And one thing that I did end up doing is I did finally get that static drill put in. And we'll mirror that. Alright, so listed objectives. Alright. Stockpile resources, establish hydrogen farm, build the processor. So those are our objectives for the next couple of streams and for some of my own work. Ah, Lanny, welcome. And that reminds me, I do need to set up more of my chat commands one of these days. Anyhow, so stockpiling resources. Well, as far as the cobalt goes, I do have that boulder nearby. Loads. Something else is I need to automate these airlocks. Alright, so where did I park my miner? In the hole. How am I doing on cobalt? Yeah, we could definitely use some more nickel and silicon as well. So I guess today's episode is going to be, planning for space. Episode 1. Digging holes. Careful with my speed because I've spent way too much time repairing this rover after taking it off of jumps. I mean, as it is right now, since it is, fairly well empty. It probably wouldn't be too bad. But, I finally get rid of this, cobalt boulder here. It's cobalt, yes? Yes. we don't want any of that stone. Make sure that there's ones are off. Lights. Yeah, by the end of this, I'm going to have so much cobalt. Should probably stockpile some magnesium because I am going to be dealing with reavers and assert, once I get up into space. So I'm going to want to make sure that my processor, along with any bases that I establish, need to make sure that they are adequately armed. Thump. I gotta say, despite its, comparative simplicity and relative inefficiency, for mining and space engineers, I love this rubber design. Like, I think this is probably one of my favorites. All right, we're about half full, and slowly waiting for our weight notation to catch up. Climbing well over 80,000 kilograms. Almost full. It is crazy just how much you can carry with a couple of large cargo containers. 100,000 kilograms. Make sure that we get rid of that doom voxel there. Okay, get those lifted. All right. And now to kind of just slowly amble our way back to base. Loaded at 110,000 kilograms. So much cobalt. And a good amount of ice in there, too. This is the part where we really need to be careful. Because this is the point where if I go off a jump, I'm going to be exploding axles on impact. That's not what we want. Turn. My alignment there is off anyhow. That's my alignment. Perfect. I also love, draining the ore out and watching in real time as the suspensions decompress. Then if we take a look moment of why don't I have a control panel anywhere near there so that I can look at what my inventory is doing. Yeah, both of our refineries are going to be working, for a good hot minute. That's okay. Soon I will have all the cobalt I will need. Honestly, probably not, just because if we look at, like, the hydrogen thrusters, in large grid, so many metal grids. So who knows, maybe this actually won't be... Maybe this won't be enough cobalt. Maybe I'll still end up having to scramble to find more. All these assert ships around me make me nervous. It's too many of them. Right, now if I remember correctly, yep, we got a magnesium asteroid down there. I need to look at that. See, I could have just run down here. I didn't need to run all the way around to the side. Magnesium. 234. That's for producing ammo. I don't need... Actually, I do kind of need a decent amount. Alright, let's add some magnesium to our mix. Really do need to come through here more often and take care of some of these trees. This magnesium deposit is just about done. I think we can still get a little bit out of it. get rid of all that stone. We don't need stone at this point. Alright. That's right. Now, all this magnesium is only going to translate to, like, maybe a couple hundred more powder, if I'm remembering correctly. But, again, aside from the Gatling ammo boxes, most of the ammunition that we'll be producing doesn't need that much magnesium, per unit produced. So, we should be okay on that front. How are we doing on that cobalt so far? About 20k in each refinery. And another 25 just sitting in storage. See, it's not often that I actually have enough ores collected for them to actually end up in the ores cargo. Usually they just end up getting drained straight into the refineries and whatnot. That's nice. I like that. Almost 30,000 magnesium. How are my batteries doing? That's right, I haven't gotten around to actually building my full power banks. forgetting about that. Alright. How much ice do I have on board? Good amount. Alright. Next up. Silicon mine. That honestly, the Silicon Mine's entrance could use with a little bit prettying up. Like right now, it's just just a hole that if I'm not careful, I'm going to end up driving into one of these days. It could use some framework. It could use some shoring up. Just delete out a whole chunk of that stone with some right-click drilling. Arms raised again. We are back out of our hole. this is the part that I have to be most careful of when doing a lot of this mining, is making sure that I'm not overfilling myself to the point that I can't make it back to base. That is something that unfortunately I do a little too often. And we'll have to be very careful of, when we go after that nickel. Because the nickel is located in a area that is very difficult to get back from. Even when you don't, accidentally overload yourself. Looks to be all of our silicon is offloaded. Excellent. No, maybe not quite yet. Some of it's getting shunted to one of those connectors. Nice. Yeah, we're gonna have silicon for a good long while. Fair amount of cobalt too. We're running a little bit low on oxygen, and it's about time for some more water. I keep seeing all these assert ships, and there's a part of me that wants to see, one of them come down, because it's like autocannon defense base, autocannon defense base, both of which I've recently built and got operational, and have seen them, work against, incoming Reavers. I want to see what my assault cannon defense base is able to do. Yeah. I want to see it in action. Let's get those hydrogen engines working. fun of, can I remember how to get to my nickel mine? That's going to be the real test of the day. Can I remember how to get down there? And then, can I, you know, can I make it back? Being completely honest, getting down to the mine, that's actually kind of the easy part. That's right, I got another surface magnesium deposit just right over here. I depleted this one yet. No, I have not. Doesn't look like I've even touched it. Excellent. Still 1.5 kilometers to our nickel mine. Mine's over there. Alright, how soon am I going to regret this particular path? Not getting down that way. Nickel mine's there. Okay, cut through over here. Hello, package! Welcome back. You're just in time to see me potentially end up doing cartwheels down a cliff face. So, perfect timing. Lights. I really do need to set up like more GPS beacons or like just road markers of, hey idiot, this is a safe path to follow. No, this one is a single player run through. I've considered in the future potentially opening to multiplayer, but you know, for the time being, this one is solo. You know, that said, you know, I am always open to community member input on things, you know, builds and, you know, different mission objectives, stuff like that. Fair enough. Uh, completely honest, I'm not entirely sure. Right now, I'm just working on getting myself to a point where I can actually, make a trip up to space and whatnot. Potentially, once I'm to the point of making that journey, because the ship I'm building for that, um, is situated such that it can crew, it can have a decently large crew. Actually, you know what? I'll save this real quick. I'm going to pull up the world that I have it in. Granted, this is a industrial overhaul version of it, so there's going to be a few differences. As long as it takes for this to load, you'd think that I had like 50 saves. Nah. I just have a handful of saves I've done a lot of stuff in. Alright. Here we go. I do have some other projects in mind, short term, that, I will likely open up for my community to help me in. I'm thinking of, a short little YouTube series, recorded episodes, utilizing the Peterbilt and some of the different delivery yards that I'm working on. Doing, short little series focused around that. The trick is actually just keeping my motivation long enough for me to actually, follow through with some of those plans. So this is the processor, in its industrial overhaul version. Oh, right, I'm still... Anyways. So yeah, this is the main deck. 3 seats here. Another 5 up here. Crew quarters. Three beds to each side. And then my room. So, once I get this built, which... as long as I'm able to stay on task with this project, I can have, I can have up to 7 or up to 6 people join me for this, once I get it built. So once I get to that stage of getting the processor built in, at that point I might actually go ahead and bring some people from the community for some fun with that. I'm not entirely sure how well my computer would handle hosting, 6 other people. I mean, that could be the fun of it. Go to jump in a Cirque cargo ship, and everyone gets rubber banded, through the entire fight. Okay, I'm here. Where's the processor? The fun thing with this entire build is this is the largest ship that I myself have built. But compared to other creations from the community, this thing is actually kind of small. I'm fairly certain that the Skywarp, the carrier that Splitsy, TFE, and Capac are building, that would absolutely dwarf this and whatnot. So it's like, for me, big shit. Compared to everything else that the community has put together, actually kind of small. Anyhow. Back to our nickel mine. Now for the fun of waiting for this roll to load in. It only takes so long because I've dug out so much of the voxel. Actually, that does give me an idea. One thing that I've announced in my Discord server, as well as I mentioned in last night's stream, is the first week of January, December 31st through January 6th. I'm not going to be able to stream that week because I'm going to be working on moving. I'm thinking, once I get everything moved and get myself settled, the Saturday, January 13th, I can make that. I'm thinking of making that one of my 12-hour streams, for my fundraising for the upcoming bike MS ride. That's going to be a multi-game stream. Space Engineers, Elite Dangerous, Mech Warrior Online, and whatnot. And I think I'll open that stream up, all parts of it. I'll put a bit more emphasis on having, more you guys from the community join in. So, you know, work on, working on stuff here in this scenario, have, members from the Discord and whatnot join in to help me with that. Elite Dangerous for anyone that plays it. We can get together, you know, have a, run some wing missions, stuff like that. MechWarrior Online group drops and whatnot. So, oh, what do you guys think? Let me get myself out of my freaking tunnel. Alright. Now to see if I can make it home with all this nickel. Don't want to go down that way. All that said, on the topic of my Discord server, for any of you that would like to join there, that way, for streams, for a lot of my streams, even if I'm not doing a group project, basis for the stream, a lot of the time I do try and make sure that I am, in voice and available to chat with you guys. If you're watching on YouTube, whether watching this live or re-watching the VOD, in the stream description, as well as on my channel's main About page, I've got a link to my Discord server. And if you're watching on Kick or Twitch right now, if you go back to my main profile page, I've got a link to my Discord server there. I think I went. Once again, I've gone the wrong way. Maybe. There we go. Like, am I going the wrong way, or did I actually get this, start in the right direction for once. Do I really need to go that full route, or can I sneak my way up this way? Oh, let's find out. Friction back down because we don't need it nearly that high. Bring our wheel power down as well. And back to base. Back up. Alright. So some nickel collected. That leaves our last resource to go forward. It's going to be some more iron. I am going to need a absolutely obscene amount of iron for that to build up that processor. Time for some iron. Oh, darn. Okay, so why? Those hydrogen engines running. Because I really want to get a nice, good, full charge on this before I go and fly it to and from the iron mine. Still need to go over and finish salvaging. Let's see, do I still need to finish salvaging that? Okay, that can go away. Okay, so I do still have part of... yeah, part of my flatbed large grade ore detector truck. Okay, so I do still have some of that that remains to be salvaged. Soon. All the Discord pings. So glad that I decided to upgrade my little charging station here. You know, add those hydrogen engines. Oh, I still have a bunch of scrap on me. Let's get that offloaded. I have no idea how I missed that, but... have all this piped up correctly, I should be able to just go through there. Perfect. Just gonna drop those off for the time being. I don't think all of that salvage stuff came off of my rover. I think a lot of that probably came from because I have had a couple of Reaper attacks. In the last couple of times when I've dusted off this save. I think that's where all that scrap came from. Picked it up off of, you know, scrapping some reavers, and then just never got around to actually, taking it back to base. Are you coming or are you going? Okay, it's moving away. There's part of me that's like, okay, good, it's moving away. But at the same time, it's like, oh, darn, it's moving away. Overall, this probably isn't going to do too much, but it should pad my iron just a little bit. The watch is probably all being shunted into some random connector someplace. Because, of course it is. Okay, so most of it is all just getting dumped into the ores. Perfect. Okay. Actually has given us a decent boost to our iron. Not enough to be, really useful by any metric. Empty, 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 empty. 288. Okay. So I think that probably puts my batteries around a 25% charge, which not ideal, but I think that should be enough to make the round trip to and from the iron mine. Alrighty. %. Not too bad. And up. Cruising altitude achieved, and away we go. I still haven't added lights to this thing. Yeah, that's on brand for me. I still haven't added too very many lights at my iron mine either, so lawn dart away. Something else I think I still need to add is more lateral thrust. Front and back is okay, but my side to side, my strafing, I think I'm still only running 3 thrusters in each direction, which isn't great when, running close to fully loaded. Ah, yes. My sweet home away from home. one static drill that That's right. I don't think I ever got any of the timers that I was planning on building set up for it. We've got the one event controller. Which currently is used to manage the lights inside my little habitat. So when the sun's up and the panels are producing power, lights turn off. Turn that on for a minute. And this right here is a good part of why I built this little base. I'm far enough away from my main base that, if I run out of food or run out of water or any of that, it's not just like a quick, run back home. It takes a couple of minutes to get back to my base, which poses a pretty high risk, especially if I'm trying to fly back, because if I die and, I'm not being careful about my piloting, there's a very good chance that all of a sudden I'm going to be short a carry-all. So being able to restock and resupply up here is rather beneficial. Plus, sit, lay down, let the batteries recharge. Let the drill do its thing for a few minutes. It's nice for me because it gives me a chance to, periodically go through and check and clear all my Discord notifications and all that fun. I went for the basic static drill, intentionally, because it does have the slowest speed out of the static drills. And it's like, it is already, it does feel a bit cheaty to use. So it's like, what? We'll go with the slowest of the three, just so that, it does, it still actually takes a bit of time to gather resources. It's not an instant, you know, turn it on and all of a sudden I've got a large cargo container filled. It's turn it on, have to wait a few minutes just for it to, even fill its own inventory, which is relatively small and whatnot. It takes a few minutes to fill its own inventory, which means, it does take a bit of time to collect a lot of resources off of it. That's right, I got some ice down here. Just take those and turn them off for the time being. That way, this drill isn't running off of their power. That'll be a slightly less of a concern once the sun comes back up, just because, we do have a nice little collection of solar panels. It's only 4 of them, so it's not a whole lot, especially when it's combined with just a single one of these turbines here on Omicron. But, it is something. I'll probably try and fill up at least 2 cargo containers, for today. I'm going to have to make a lot of trips to get all the iron that I'm going to need to build the processor. Well, even just to set up the hydrogen farm, it's going to take a bit of work. Good amount of iron for that. But, we'll be able to get her done. That's right, I think at one point I was going to try and set up, set up something for, a little TV. So yeah, I've already got the insect kitchen. Drop this in without too much trouble. I wish there was a way to like mirror. There's a mirrored version of this. Because I'd like to have it, this on the front face, and then this portion facing towards the door. Oh well. I forget just how many parts on this kitchen are actually accessible. Like, it's rather nice. Honestly, it'd be kind of cool if you could, some of these could be compartmentalized. Yeah, English. Have it so that, certain sections, like, okay, this will hold, you can put foodstuffs here, medical kit, have this part that you can only stick, like, med kits in. Although I get the feeling, that would, one, be a little bit, probably wouldn't play nice with uh, the game's current coding. Would also probably get kind of irritating, It's like, oh, I know I've got, this side of the other stored in here. But then you have to remember, specifically which compartment you have it stored in, so that you can go you go and pull it from specifically that one spot. Oh, almost 18,000 iron so far. This part is going to be a good bit of just some hurry up and wait. I think we'll go ahead and call it there for today's stream. Alrighty, folks. I appreciate you guys coming out today. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed it. Um, Upcoming streams for next week. Monday, we're going to be doing some more MechWarrior Online. Since PGI did get the hotfix put out, we'll be able to return to my one-man... excuse me. We'll be able to return to my one-man, one-mech series. And of course, that will be open to any of you guys that would like to join in as well. I will be in my Discord server and voice chat for anyone that would like to join for drops or just hang out and chat. That'll be at 6 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Friday at 6 p.m. as well, we'll be doing some more Elite Dangerous, which, same thing with MechWarrior Online. I'll be in voice chat in my Discord server for anyone that would like to just sit and chat or join me for some wing shenanigans in Elite. And then next Saturday, I might actually have to will either run a short stream or I may have to postpone it, as I am going to be getting a jump on some of my packing and getting things transitioned into a storage unit. Um, so depending on time frames for some of that, next Saturday's stream, at the very least, will probably be a short stream. But we'll be back for some more Space Engineers. Um, but then, yeah. First week of January, no streams that week because I'm moving. But the next Saturday after that, the 13th, we'll make that my first 12-hour charity stream for the new year. That stream is going to be benefiting the National MS Society, specifically through my participation and fundraising efforts for the Bike MS Harmon's Best Damn Bike Ride. So, anyhow, that's what you guys have to look forward to from me over this coming week. And again, I appreciate you guys coming out today. And until next time, take care, everyone.